Welcome back to Black Movie Recaps. Today I'm going to show you an action, crime, drama, thriller film from 2014 titled, No Good Deed. This is a spoiler content. Watch out and take care. In the opening shot, a news report is broadcast on the criminal Colin Evans. He is convicted of voluntary manslaughter for one of the most brutal murders in recent history. 5 years ago, Colin was one of the most wanted men in state history, having emerged as the prime suspect in the disappearance of 5 young women. He was eventually apprehended for the crimes, only to escape and elude authorities for several months, until the night he was arrested for the fatal bar-room brawl that would lead to his manslaughter conviction. The evidence necessary to try Colin for the abduction of the 5 women proved illusory. The DA's office decided to settle for what it knew could prove in court, hence the lesser manslaughter conviction of 10 to 15 years. After serving 5 years on a manslaughter charge after killing a man, he is up for parole. On his way, the driver transporting him prayed and wished him the best, saying people usually rise to the occasion when given a second chance, well except politicians. Colin thanked him and asked the guard if he can also count on his support, but he tells him it's none of his business. Colin gives his testimony to the parole board, claiming he was ashamed of his actions and that he is a changed, humble man ready to return to society. However, the chairman of the board doesn't buy it for a second, claiming Colin is a malignant narcissist and a violent offender, and everyone there knows that the families of the 5 women would not be happy to see him walking free. The words of the chairman echo in Colin's head and his parole is denied. Colin is being taken back to prison in a van when he appears to have a bloody nose. He asks for help, only to grab the guard's gun and put him in a headlock. The driver stops and aims his gun at Colin. Colin calmly tells the driver to put the gun down or he shoots the guard, and he doesn't want that. He claims he doesn't want to hurt anyone but just wants to get out of the van, forcing the driver to put his gun down. Then he shoots both the driver and the guard, free to make his escape. We meet Terry Granger, holding her baby Sam and trying to talk on the phone, while landscapers are working outside her house and her daughter Ryan rides around the house. Terry's best friend Meg comes jogging in. She notices how overworked Terry is, so she suggests having a girls' night. Later, Terry's husband Jeffrey comes home only to get packed for a trip for his father's birthday. He seems unhelpful and impatient with Terry, though he assures her he loves her. Colin is now in Atlanta, Georgia, driving a van, stalking a woman named Alexis. He sees her meeting a man outside a cafe, and Alexis hugs him. He breaks into Alexis's home before she gets back, and he confronts her over her not waiting for him to get out. Colin asks her why she never wrote back after writing her severally, and Alexis replies she didn't know what to say. He takes out a note that says, "Didn't want to wake you up because you look so beautiful when you sleep." After, Colin takes out his letters and Alexis hadn't read any of them, making Colin very furious. Scared, Alexis runs for the door but Colin blocks her. She runs to her room where Colin makes her admit that she was sleeping with another man. Again, the words ring through his head and he puts his hand on Alexis's throat. He breaks her neck and then brutally beats her with a lamp. At night, a heavy storm starts brewing and Colin is seen driving. Terry hurriedly gets her kids inside and starts getting her kids ready for dinner. Colin is trying to wipe his windscreen clear, which makes him drive his van into a tree after swerving off the road to prevent crashing into another vehicle. He walks until he gets to Terry's home. He rings the bell, and she answers. Colin tells her he had a crush resulting in the wound on his forehead and asks to use the phone to call for a tow truck. After supposedly using the phone, Colin tells Terry that the tow truck will come later. Colin tries to walk away and Terry, seeing how heavy the storm is, tries to be hospitable and invites the stranger inside. Terry goes to get some first aid equipment and starts treating the cut on his forehead. Colin introduces himself, so does Terry as they start small conversations. Colin is charming and polite toward Terry as well as Ryan when she comes around. Terry tells Colin she used to be a prosecutor at the DOS office in the homicide division where most of her cases were violence against women. She tells him they were easier to make because unlike the movies, most killers aren't that smart or clever. Actually, they're weak and pathetic. Suddenly Terry's car alarm goes off after a loud thunder and leaves to turn it off. She tries doing that wireless but it doesn't work. Colin offered to take a look for her and starts reading the manual on how to turn it off manually. Terry, seeing he is taking long, decides to join Colin. As they try to figure out how to turn it off, Terry hits the car and the alarm goes off. He asked her how she did that and Terry replies she has no idea. Colin sees a picture of Jeffrey on the refrigerator and asks Terry if that is the husband. When she was serving him tea, Terry answers yes and also asks him if he is seeing anyone. He says he had an ex-fiancée that he caught cheating on him. Terry is changing when Colin walks in on her, which scares her. Colin claimed he couldn't find the sugar, but Terry tells him she offered him sugar, making Terry a little suspicious of him. They hear the doorbell ring and Terry thinks it's the tow truck. She goes to open the door only to find out it's actually her friend Meg, who's come over with wine for their girls' night. Meg is immediately attracted to handsome and charming Colin. They share the wine and Meg makes comments about how Terry used to be a wild girl and asks Colin if that surprises him. He says not at all. Whilst they talk, Meg says she thinks sex is like going to gym. You should do it every day and never use the same equipment 2 days in a row. Meg asks if Terry and Colin knew each other before now, to which Terry answers no, but Colin says yes initially and say no later, which makes Meg a little suspicious of them. Terry goes to check on her kids. Colin asks Meg where he can smoke. She directs him to the garage and joins him in the smoke. Meg asks him if there's something going on with him and Terry. He smiles and doesn't say a word, leading Meg to think her friend is having an affair. Colin suggests that Terry is keeping things from Meg, but Meg doesn't believe him. She tells him he's full of crap because Terry knows everything about her and so does she about Terry. Meg tells Colin he doesn't add up and leaves to find out what's going on from Terry. Colin takes a shovel and brutally kills Meg with it. Terry sees Colin alone and asks where Meg is. He says she left, though Terry notices Meg's umbrella still lying by the coat rack. Terry goes to call Meg and sees the phone lines are cut, and all the knives are missing from their holder in the kitchen. She goes upstairs to see Colin playing with Ryan, and then spots the gun in the back of his pants. Terry orders him to put Ryan down and takes her from him to put her to bed. They leave the room and Terry reaches for the fire extinguisher and sprays Colin, then hits him over the head so he falls down the stairs. Terry runs to her kids, but Colin quickly manages to get back on his feet and tell her to put Sam down and to go with him. She closes the door to the kids' room and Colin draws his gun on her, warning her not to do anything like that again. He takes her to the bathroom and makes her stand in the shower with him as he washes himself of the foam. He then makes Terry undress and change her clothes. Thinking he is going to rape her, she tells Colin not to do this, but he tells her not to flatter herself. Terry grabs a lamp and whacks Colin over the head with it and even manages to stab him in the side. She runs for her kids, but once again, Colin is too fast for her. Colin forces Terry to take her kids to her car so they can make their getaway. While passing through the garage, Terry sees Meg's bloody body lying on the side, but Colin tells her to keep moving. On the road, Terry sees a cop and quickly signals him with the headlights when Colin isn't looking. The cop follows them and makes her pull over. Colin grabs Sam, telling Terry that will be her motivation to keep her mouth shut. The cop asks Terry for her license and registration and tells Colin the baby needs to be in the back seat. He tells the cop that the baby was crying and had to comfort him. The cop gets suspicious when Ryan asks for her dad. Terry steps out of the car and the cop asks her if she was trying to signal her with the flashlights, but she says her hand might have slipped. Terry tries not to be obvious to the cop as Colin can hear her. The cop notices Terry continuously looking over at the car, and he figures out something is wrong. He asks if there's anything she needs to tell him and Terry says she can't say anything right now, which Colin hears. The cop tells Terry not to move and immediately Colin steps out of the car and shoots the cop dead. He rolls the man's body down the hill and forces Terry to get in the car as they drive away. Terry asks him why he is doing this and he replies, "You will see." Colin makes Terry drive to Alexis's home. He makes her bring the kids and put them in a room. He brings her up to the room and orders her to find first aid from the bathroom to patch him up. As she comes out, she finds Alexis' body lying on the floor, which freaks her out. The car alarm suddenly goes off and Colin tries to use the key to put it off from the room, but once again it doesn't work. He ties Terry up and leaves to turn the alarm off. Immediately as Colin gets down, Alexis' cell phone starts ringing. Terry manages to cut herself loose with a broken piece and answer the phone. A man's voice answers, calling Terry babes and saying he's at the hotel and he's been calling multiple times, but Terry recognizes the voice belonging to Jeffrey and mentions his name. However, he replies, "Alexis?" Thus, Terry puts it together. Colin got Jeffrey's name and address off the note that he found near Alexis's bed earlier that day, and it was no accident that he came across her home. He knew all along that Jeffrey wouldn't be home and decided to use the opportunity to seek revenge on Jeffrey. Terry then tells Jeffrey that Alexis is dead and to call the police. She tried calling the police herself, but due to the storm, there were high-volume 911 calls so she couldn't be put through. She runs to get the kids and sees Colin is walking back to the house. Terry opens the windows, hanging a cloth to create the illusion that she had escaped through the window whilst she hides in the wardrobe with the kids. Colin returns to room and realizes she's not there. He forces himself into the kids' room and sees the opened window, taking the bait. He rushes outside to catch up with Terry and the kids but doesn't see them. Terry sees Colin coming back inside the house. She quickly hides the kids in the closet and runs upstairs, grabbing a knife for protection. Colin nearly finds the kids but Terry distracts him. He catches her in the bedroom but not before Terry stabs him again. He knocks her down in the process and points his gun at him. Ryan walks in and Terry uses the opportunity to kick Colin in the balls and tells Ryan to run. They start to fight, forcing Colin to lose his gun. He tries to strangle her but she jabs him in his side wound with her keys. He leaves her briefly as she tries to go for the gun but he tries to strangle her again. She manages to grab a metal and knocks him out. He appears unconscious until he grabs Terry and hits her head against the wall, taking her down. She lies there unconscious but suddenly takes Colin's gun and shoots him once, then again, but he's still standing so she shoots him multiple times until he falls out the window to his death. The police arrive late, as it always happens in the movie, along with Jeffrey. He finds Terry and tries apologizing to her but she responds by punching him hard in the face. A while later, Terry has moved to a new home with the kids. She still carries a picture of her and Meg. She now has a new friend that helps her take care of the kids and they take them to the park during a sunny afternoon. I hope you enjoyed it. Subscribe to watch more videos like this. Turn on notifications and leave a like. It really helps the channel out. Thank you for watching.